Body of Our Own is a brand new short documentary, right, from Rahemur Rahman and Lily Vetch. They wrote and directed. It is produced by Simran Badwan, along with Varada Sefu, Rahemur Rahman, and Lily Vetch. It is executive produced by Salvin Shahal, Anita Shehibi. It is associate produced by Maya Satya Reddy, Shiva Rashandani, Salwa Rahman, Ibtisam Ahmed, and Andy Akinwuller. There is also line production from Anishta Khan, Marika Mukherjee, and Shemtana Shamim. Badur and Manny D handled the music and score. We have got Michael Filacamo and Lily Vetch on cinematography. Chloe Hardwick, Rahemur Rahman, and Lily Vetch handled the editing duties. Jack Rowe is visual effects. All right, so yeah, that's... Oh, my bad. The film follows three main people. We have Neshi, Jannat, and Momo. Okay. And we... well, basically, the film is about this, right? So, set against the vibrant chaos of South Asia, our three protagonists are joined by their friends and lovers in gentle moments, dressing, sharing beds, and smoking cigarettes. They reveal their hopes, reflect on upbringing and expectations, and consider their relationships with gender. They learn about themselves and each other under mosquito nets in the sweltering heat, and in doing so, begin the work of creating alternative worlds, futures where the power could be returned to their outstretched and capable hands. Momo, bold and irreverent, claims space and garners recognition through performance and incisive humour. She finds grounding in taking on a mentorship role with the erasure culture, a less exploitative approach inspired by her own supportive Guru Ma, all while appreciating the absurdity of life. Neshi instead searches for solace online, juggling a need for belonging with a desire for something more, dreaming of romance and of motherhood. She seeks connection with clients and lovers on streaming apps such as Bigo Live, while Jannat imagines a life beyond entrenched traditions of ceremonial blessing and sex work, leaving the strictly hierarchical Hijra culture behind. She seeks financial independence and love elsewhere in pursuit of Bollywood stardom. Through intimacy, laughter, and tension. These touching vignettes highlight a fragile balance between freedom and survival. But in the face of violence, erasure, and a strictly hierarchical Hijra culture, a golden thread binds Momo, Neshi, and Jannat together. Their resilience and their capacity for joy. Filmed over 7 transformative years, this film is a celebration of defiant self-determination and tenacity. It's a tale of lives lived at the intersection of tradition and modernity. In an increasingly transphobic digital age, and crucially, it's a story of friendship, of how those we hold close keep us dancing and laughing in the face of hardship and erasure. Okay, so we do have 2 directors' statements, right? We got one from Rahemur Rahman and one from Lily Vetch. So Rahemur says this. That's not the statement. Here we go. While making this film, I began questioning how to rebuild my identity after coming out and losing my family. These women taught me to live fiercely, authentically, and fearlessly fabulous. And I hope the film inspires others to not only learn about the Hijra community, but to live more like them. Lily says, before meeting the women, we were warned that the Hijra community was dangerous and inaccessible. Instead, we encountered generosity, humor, and sharp intelligence. They have taught me the importance of questioning entrenched biases. And so this film grew out of a desire to listen, learn, and share their stories on their own terms. Okie dokie. So yeah, that's the gist of things, right? So it is a glance, right? We are peering through a window at these 3 people's lives. You know, we come midstream, as it were. You know, so there's a lot of different things to unwrap, right? They're talking about their Hijra community and the Guru Mars that a lot of people work with. At times, it did sound like the Guru Mars were the equivalent of pimps, because I think it was Neshi was talking about one of their friends didn't go with a Guru Ma, right? Just worked in a beauty parlor on their own, and then I think opened up their own and is very successful, right? But said that they can't leave because the Guru Ma would torture them, right? Which does not sound like the best of situations. So it feels like people are sometimes going from banishment, right? When the family, friends might disown them, and then into a situation of, I don't know, kind of servitude. It's hard to fully know because we don't necessarily get full explanations of some of these things, right? This is more a look at the lives of these 3 women and how they are dealing with like situations and matters and talking about their life and everything like that. And, you know, they are trying to make the best of everything, having fun and, you know, exploration and everything, you know. So we sometimes get clips of, sometimes they're on the phone to the guru. Sometimes some of them are, on these app things, you know, um, and we just see that interaction. I think we see Jannat with her like a boyfriend at the time and talking on that relationship. And even with that relationship, it does, like, it doesn't always sound like there's an overall choice. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, oh, so I'm going to be with this person because they are giving me attention rather than, you know what I mean, just meeting and building something, right? Because the interactions are all a little bit like, there's this dude just gave her money and kept on giving money, where you're just like, if there's no foundation of friendship, right, and money starts coming before anything else, you have to wonder at one point, is there gonna be like, now it's time to pay up, right? I've given you this, what am I getting in return? But it is a case, it seems, of these are the options, right? This is how I am looking to navigate things, which is interesting. Like, there is a lot of talk about souls here, being born with the wrong soul in the wrong body, which is interesting because I don't know, right, if necessarily it's the soul that is, the gender, right? Like, I think it can be, you grow up with experiences, right? And that makes you who you are, because, yeah, I think there's a load of different examples of, like a girl growing up with only exposure to male things, and then they grow up wanting to do and male things and acting like a male, right? And vice versa. So I don't know if it's the soul, but there is that thread throughout where this is talked about. And then it's just the it's some of these interactions with the family which are hard to watch because they're not necessarily pleasant, right? There is this friction, there is this animosity, because it's like, you need to live like this and you can't do this and you can't do that. Like, it seems that there isn't necessarily an abundance of ready to claim joy, right? That everything is hard to get, hard to navigate, which you do think is a shame, right? In today's world, like, do we really care? You know what I mean? Do we really care what people do, how they live, as long as people are being decent, right? As long as they are, being respectful and nice and kind. Like, does it matter? Right? I think that's the thing. I do think, like, because this is, I think, just under half an hour. I think it's like 26 minutes or something like that. I think more time would be better. It's like sometimes we go, yo, this thing was too long, right? I do think more time would have been beneficial here to really get into some of these topics and themes, and to really explore everyone's lives, you know what I mean? Because, as I say, it's more of a snapshot. It's interesting, right? But yeah, we don't get exposed to everything, right? Even at the very end, there's a little bit of information about, one of these ladies' lives that is like, oh, damn. Because, what we see within the documentary itself, it does look like things are positive, you know what I mean? And then we find out it didn't necessarily end out like that, which is a shame, right? Is a shame. Like the one big frustration with this is it's subtitled, right? And we have white words with no solid background. So a lot of, these conversations get lost in the background of what's on the screen, because you've got a light background, you've got white text on that background. Yo, we're losing words, right? We are losing words, and that is a real shame here. That really is. But, I do think this is promising work from these directors. I think it's their first, piece of directorial work, their first short film, right? Their first times doing this. And I do think that the documentary is a good grounding for both of them, right? It definitely shows, I think, some skill with the storytelling, right? It's not perfect. There are definitely things I think it could have established and laid out, but you know what I mean? I think it shows promise, right? So that's good. And it does open up a community that, I don't know, we don't necessarily hear about. I've not heard of this Hijra community before. So, you know what I mean? I think anything that opens up certain topics and subjects and all of this, I think that is always a good look, because, it will have people, doing their own research, right? Carrying on these conversations afterwards. So it does definitely do that. The film played during BFI Flair. That's where it had its world premiere. We were hoping to have this conversation, look at this and have a conversation earlier, but just timings never worked out. So, it came slightly afterwards, but hey, it's still opening us up to people, which is, the purpose of all of this. So yes, people, if you do like a documentary and you do like exploring, different themes and cultures, right? I think Body of Our Own could very well be for you.